Okay, so it's a Tuesday night and you're coming home from work and you're getting a little bit hungry on the drive home. And that's when you see a Taco Bell. So what do? Well, you go to the Taco Bell and get some Doritos Locos Tacos and maybe a Baja Blast Mountain Dew. That's what you do. And it satisfies your hunger and it tastes really good all at a low price. But later that night, you're gonna pay the ultimate price. So, what steps could have been taken to prevent this from happening? Was it the fault of the tacos? Yes and no, because the real issue was you went to Taco Bell in the first place. Because anything on that menu is out to get you. So there's 36,383 gun-related deaths in the US each year, whether it be suicide, homicide, or an accident. So what can we do to reduce this number of deaths? So one solution that comes to a lot of people's minds is gun control. On paper, gun control is a very good idea because less guns equals less gun-related deaths. But there's many statistics that shows that it's actually the opposite. In the 1970s, when the Mexican government took control of all firearms, they made it nearly impossible to get one. Since then, the crime rate and the murder rate in Mexico has risen exponentially. So that is kind of contradictory of what it looks like on paper. It is projected that if we reduce the guns by 10%, then there is a 2.5% decrease in suicide rates. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's about 1,000 lives that would be saved because there's about 45,000 suicides each year in the United States. But along with that, you have the issue of getting rid of 39 million guns, and that can prove very problematic in the United States. Not to mention that there's also self-defense uses of guns, so if you take away guns, less self-defense, which could actually lead to an increase in crime. So this is where I want you to look back on my Taco Bell analogy. So what is the solution to reducing gun-related deaths at the moment? Mental health. So mental health can prove very useful in reducing gun-related deaths because instead of attacking the means by which people hurt themselves or others, we can attack the source at its problem. Kind of like with the Taco Bell analogy, do we want to take the tacos off the menu? No, just don't go to Taco Bell. So 33% of mass shooters suffer from a diagnosable disorder. Nicholas Cruz, the 19-year-old who killed 17 students and wounded 17 others, showed many signs and symptoms of mental illness, but he was never made it to the hospital to get the treatment that he needed. Other killers and serial killers also show many signs and symptoms of mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, borderline personality, and psychosis, which is prevalent in serial killers. So 90% of people who commit suicide have a diagnosable psychiatric disorder at the time of their death, and 50% of people with suicidal ideation suffer from major depressive disorder. So the approach of mental health is more targeted at the suicide population when it comes to gun-related deaths, but this can still bring down a substantial amount of gun-related deaths. Because out of the 36,000 people that are killed with guns each year, 23,000 of those are caused by suicide, which is about 61% of all gun-related deaths. And the beauty about mental health is that it doesn't just help bring down these 23,000, it helps bring down the other 22,000 which take their lives by alternative methods. So if we incorporate a more comprehensive mental health program into schools and the workplace, in addition to amping up mental health services, the everyday person can recognize signs and symptoms and help give people the treatment that they need to overcome this illness. Getting treatment and diagnosed won't cure the disorder because it's chronic, but research has shown that it helps drastically improve the life of those affected. So this would lead to a decrease in suicides and homicides. And yeah, so you guys may be thinking, how does this really affect me? What are the odds that I'll actually be in a situation to help someone who's suffering from one of these? And I used to feel the same way too, until last year I had a friend who attempted suicide, and they just disappeared off the planet for like a week because they were admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I had no idea it happened. It just came out of the blue. But now that I know the signs and symptoms of mental illnesses and suicidal ideation, when I reflect back on the months prior to the attempt, I could recognize that something just wasn't right. And had I known then what I know now, I might have been able to help intervene and prevent the attempt from happening altogether. So the chance of you getting attacked by a gorilla at any given point is very low, but it's never zero. So will you ever be in a position to help someone? Maybe, maybe not. But if you are in that position, you'll be ready to help them.